My wife thought she could leave me broke after running off with another man. But I'd protected every dollar long before she left, and when she tried to fight, she lost everything. I knew something was wrong the moment she stopped asking me how my day was. It was a small thing. Most people wouldn't even notice it. But when you've lived with someone for 8 years, silence is never quiet. It's coded, measured, sharp. She'd come home late. No explanation. No eye contact. She'd kick off her heels like they insulted her and disappear into the bathroom with her phone still in her hand. We used to talk about everything. Now, dinner was 2 plates placed on the table like they were evidence in a trial. No conversation. Just clinking forks and whatever drama was playing on Netflix. I asked once gently if she was okay. She smiled and said, "I'm fine." And that was that. I wasn't stupid. I saw the signs. New clothes. New perfume. A password on her phone. But more than that, she stopped looking at me like I existed. I became furniture. Still useful, but not necessary. I remember the night everything changed. It was a Thursday. I came home early from work. Something about the way the office lights buzzed that day made me want to be anywhere else. When I opened the door, the house was too quiet. She was on the couch, staring at her phone, legs tucked under her, smiling. She didn't hear me come in. Didn't even flinch when I dropped my keys. I cleared my throat. She looked up, and in that moment I saw it. The flicker. The "oh, it's you." Not hate. Not guilt. Just detachment. Like I was a placeholder in a life she'd already moved on from. That night, she was cold. Distant. Said she had a headache. Went to bed without a word. I sat in the kitchen with a glass of whiskey, staring at the wall. I didn't cry. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I'd already started preparing for this. Months ago, when her tone began shifting. When the late nights became a pattern. When she stopped laughing at my stupid jokes. I started moving money. Opened a separate account. Transferred small amounts every week. Not because I was hiding anything, but because I needed to know that if she ever decided to walk, I wouldn't be crawling. And she walked. 2 weeks later. No big fight. No tears. Just a text sent while I was at work. "I'm done. I've moved out. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be." I sat there in my office, staring at the screen like it was a glitch. At first, I thought it was a joke. Then I saw the email confirmation, a lease agreement with her name and a downtown apartment address. And then, her Instagram update. A selfie with a caption that read "New Beginnings." Him. The guy. Mid-30s. Tanned. Gym trainer smile. One of those "I only drink smoothies and say bro" unironically types. She'd been seeing him for months. And now? She'd left. The house was quiet that night. Too clean. She'd taken the espresso machine, the Vitamix blender, the art from the hallway. The nice wine glasses. All the good towels. And my favorite coffee mug, the one she used to say was ugly but you. But she didn't take everything. She didn't take the filing cabinet. She didn't take the envelopes I'd been building up with every transfer. She didn't take the fact that the joint account she tried to drain that morning had $28.43 in it, just enough for a petty laugh. The next day, I got an email from her. No subject line. Just this. "You know this isn't over, right? I deserve half. You wouldn't have any of this without me." That was the moment I felt it, not rage, not heartbreak, clarity. She really thought I was a fool. She thought I was the kind of man who wouldn't see it coming. Who'd go to pieces while she walked off into her new life. Who'd be left with rent, bills, and an empty bank account while she posed for yoga selfies with her side project. She wanted everything and thought she'd already won. What she didn't know was that I'd already met with a lawyer. 3 months before she left. Just a consultation. Just information gathering. But that meeting gave me the blueprint. I didn't tell anyone. Not even my brother. I started organizing documents. Downloading bank statements. Logging dates, timestamps, texts. Screenshots. Not because I wanted to start a war. Because I refused to be collateral damage in hers. I didn't reply to her email. Didn't take the bait. Let her stew in silence. Because I knew what was coming next. And I was ready. The first few days after she left were deceptively quiet. No lawyers. No papers. No threats beyond that one email. I kept going to work. I kept going to the gym. I came home to an empty house that still smelled like her perfume in the bathroom and felt like someone had pressed mute on my life. But inside, I wasn't breaking. I was watching. And I was waiting. By day 6, the text started. Not from her, from mutual friends. Little messages, all with the same tone. "Hey, I don't want to get in the middle of anything, but..." She's really hurt. She said you locked her out of the accounts? That doesn't seem like you. You sure you don't want to just split things peacefully? It was like watching someone build a campaign. A slow rollout of her version of events. Paint me as cold, controlling, paranoid. The guy who couldn't handle her finding someone else. I didn't respond. Not to them. Not to her. Not to the image she was constructing for her little audience. Because while she was curating her breakup brand, I was curating proof. I had already pulled every bank statement from the last 2 years. Every Venmo transaction. Every ATM withdrawal. Every screenshot of her messaging me from the same locations she swore she had to work late at, and that just so happened to be near his gym. I had the email where she admitted she'd been unhappy for over a year. I had photos from mutual acquaintances, ones she didn't think I'd ever see, of her sitting in his lap at a party before she left. And most importantly, I had a lawyer who specialized in high-conflict divorce. Her next move came in the form of a casual text, as if she hadn't detonated our marriage 2 weeks earlier. Can we talk about the car? That was it. No greeting. No apology. Just a question about the vehicle that was still technically in my name, though she'd driven it for the last year. I replied the next morning, "You're welcome to refinance it in your name. Let me know if you need the paperwork." She left me on read. That afternoon, I got an email from a paralegal at a firm I didn't recognize. An official notice that my wife was seeking equitable distribution of assets, including shared income, vehicles, retirement funds, and household goods. And just like that, she made her opening move. I didn't flinch, because this was expected. And I was ready. My lawyer and I met the following day. He was calm, professional, the type of guy who wore black-rimmed glasses and had a Bluetooth keyboard for his tablet. I liked him immediately. I handed him the folder I'd been building for 3 months. He opened it, scanned the first few pages, and nodded slowly. "This," he said, "is excellent preparation." "Thanks," I said. I figured if she was going to be calculated, I had to be more so. He looked at me. "Most people come in here with nothing. No timeline, no documents, just raw emotion. You're about 3 steps ahead of where we usually start." That was the first moment I felt it. Not just calm, but power. Because I'd done what she hadn't expected. I prepared while she performed. Over the next few weeks, things escalated. Her attorney sent demands. We sent polite, factual responses. She tried to get emotional. Claimed emotional distress. Said I'd cut her off from everything. But all our finances were traceable. All my transfers happened while we were still legally together, but after she'd stopped contributing to the household. Her messages proved she was disengaged, detached, already gone. She had made it easy. Too easy. Still, she kept pushing. She started going after things she had no real attachment to, the old couch, the blender, a lamp her aunt had given me. It was never about the items. It was about control. She wanted to remind me that she could still reach into my life and twist the knife. But I didn't budge. Every email was answered by my attorney. Every demand met with receipts, dates, numbers. She tried to get the car back. We showed that I paid the insurance and maintenance solo for over a year. She claimed she was owed part of my retirement. We proved most of it was accumulated before we were even married. She tried to spin the narrative, and I just kept bringing the facts. Then she made her biggest mistake. She filed a motion claiming financial misconduct, essentially accusing me of hiding assets maliciously during the marriage. It was bold. It was dramatic. And it was easy to destroy. My lawyer prepared the documents. We highlighted every transfer, every pre-divorce consultation, every professional record showing that I'd acted legally, reasonably, and within my rights. We requested her bank statements in response. She delayed. We pressed again. And that's when the real cracks started to show. Her lawyer contacted mine. Apparently, she hadn't told him everything. About the new guy. About the timing. About the money she spent before the split using joint funds. He asked to schedule a meeting. Off the record, my lawyer and I declined. We had no reason to negotiate behind closed doors. Let the process play out. That night, I got another text from her. This one wasn't angry. It wasn't snarky or smug. It said, "I didn't know you could be this cold." I stared at it for a long time. Not because it hurt, but because it told me everything I needed to know. She had mistaken my silence for weakness, my calm for passivity, my distance for absence. But I'd been present the whole time, just not on her stage. She was performing a breakup. I was building my protection. And now that the show was over, I was the one still standing. Court was scheduled for a Tuesday morning. I arrived early. Not out of nervousness, I just didn't want to give her the satisfaction of watching me walk in after her. I wasn't there to play games. I was there to finish what she started. She showed up 10 minutes late, flanked by her attorney, dressed like she'd stepped out of a lifestyle magazine, beige blazer, perfect curls, oversized sunglasses she wore indoors. I barely recognized her. She looked right past me. I didn't flinch. The hearing wasn't dramatic. No shouting. No objections. Just facts. Documents. Testimony. Her lawyer made an opening argument that sounded like a romance novel gone wrong. My client sacrificed her career to support this marriage. She was blindsided by the dissolution, financially stranded, and deserves compensation for the years she gave. I could see her nodding along as if every word were sacred truth. Then my lawyer stood. No drama. No speeches. Just, "Your Honor, we have documented evidence of financial separation prior to the dissolution. We also have communications between the parties confirming intent, withdrawal, and acknowledgement of independent accounts." Then the exhibits came. One by one. Bank transfers. Emails. The lease she signed 3 weeks before she told me she was leaving to find herself. The Instagram posts. Her own messages to friends bragging about upgrading her life. And then? The final blow. A written admission, a message to a mutual friend, timestamped saying he won't see it coming. "I'm taking what I can and getting out." Her lawyer went silent. She stopped making eye contact. The judge looked over the stack of documents, nodded slightly, and asked if we had anything else. We didn't. Everything had been said. The ruling came 2 weeks later. Email. Her petition for shared assets, denied. Her claim to the vehicle, denied. Her attempt to claim misconduct, dismissed with prejudice. In fact, the judge stated that her actions bordered on bad faith and warned her legal team about further frivolous filings. She didn't reach out after that. No apology. No explanation. No final monologue. Just silence. The performance was over. I heard through a friend that the guy she left me for had moved out. Apparently, he wasn't thrilled about the legal bills or the sudden lack of spending money. She tried moving back in with her sister. That lasted 3 weeks. Then she vanished from everyone's feed, no more yoga selfies, no more quotes about growth and healing. She went dark. But I didn't check. Because I wasn't watching anymore. I didn't celebrate. Didn't toast to my victory or post cryptic quotes about rising above. I went back to work. Started sleeping again. Reorganized the closet. Took a trip to visit my brother and his kids. We grilled, watched a bad action movie, laughed about nothing. And somewhere in all that, I started to feel normal again. Not happy. Not free. Solid. That, I think, is what she never understood. This was never about revenge. It was about remembering who I was before I started shrinking to make space for someone who only knew how to take. I still have the folder. It's thinner now, just a few documents, final copies, the signed court order. I don't look at it much. But I keep it. Not as a trophy. As a reminder. That being quiet isn't the same as being weak. That calm doesn't mean passive. That sometimes the strongest move you can make is to see it all coming and be ready. People like to ask what the aftermath feels like. After the court date. After the signatures. After the emails stop. They expect satisfaction. Victory. Maybe even revenge. But what it really feels like is quiet. The kind of quiet that doesn't demand anything from you. The kind that just is. For the first time in years, there was no walking on eggshells. No low-level dread humming under my skin. No, what mood will she be in today, dictating the tone of the whole house. There was only stillness. And in that stillness I found myself again. The house looked different even though nothing had changed. Same furniture. Same walls. Same creaky step in the hallway. But everything felt clearer. Less cluttered. Like the air had more space in it. I started opening the blinds more. Cooking for myself again. Small, quiet acts that said, "You're still here. And you're okay." One afternoon I cleaned out the last drawer that had anything of hers in it. A scarf, a few receipts, a lip balm half melted into the lining. There was no ceremony. No symbolic burning. No playlist of angry breakup songs. Just a box, a trash bag, and a quiet thank you to myself for getting through it. Because I had. Not just legally. Not just financially. But emotionally. That was the real win. I didn't block her number. I didn't delete our old photos. I didn't pretend like it never happened. But I also didn't need it anymore. Her chapter was closed. She'd written her part. And I'd rewritten mine. I used the same account she once tried to drain to book a solo trip. 3 nights at a cabin in the woods. No cell service. Just trees, a fireplace, and the sound of rain tapping the roof like a heartbeat. It was the first time in years I'd fallen asleep without needing white noise. I came back different. Lighter. Not in some dramatic I burned it all and became a new man way. Just settled. Like I wasn't bracing for impact anymore. People noticed. Friends I hadn't seen in a while started texting. My coworkers said I looked less tight around the eyes. Even my brother, who rarely comments on anything emotional, said over a beer, "You're easier to be around now." And he was right. I was easier. On them. On myself. On life. One day I found the check. Tucked in a file folder I thought I'd thrown away. It was the court's final accounting, how much she owed in legal fees, how much she tried to claim, and how much she'd actually received. 0. It didn't spark pride. It sparked peace. Because I didn't win by taking something from her. I won by keeping what was mine. A few months later, I saw her name pop up on social media again. Not a direct post, someone had tagged her. She was at a bar, laughing with people I didn't recognize. She looked thinner. Tired. But not unhappy. Just someone else now. And I realized something. I didn't care. Not out of spite. Out of distance. She was just another person with her own path, her own decisions, her own consequences. And I was finally walking mine. I donated the couch. The one she picked. The one we argued over in the store for 20 minutes because it wasn't modern enough. Replaced it with one I liked. Neutral color. Comfy. Not because I needed something new, but because I needed something mine. That became the theme of everything. My space. My choices. My life. I started painting again. I hadn't touched a canvas since college. I set up a little studio in the spare room, the one that used to be hers. Now it smells like turpentine and cedar. Light pours in through the window just right around 3 p.m. That's when I usually put on music and let myself get lost in it. No one critiques it. No one asks why I'm wasting time. No one hovers. It's just for me. And that might be the biggest shift of all. Living without having to explain myself. No performative selflessness. No guilt for taking time to recharge. No constant management of someone else's emotional thermostat. Just existing. And letting that be enough. Eventually, I ran into someone. Not the one. Not a whirlwind. Just someone kind. We got coffee. Laughed about something stupid. Talked about dogs and playlists and how we both liked winter more than summer. It wasn't about replacing anyone. It was about allowing myself to connect again, not from a place of needing to be saved, but from a place of already being whole. I don't know where it's going. And I'm okay with that. Because I'm not chasing something anymore. I'm building it one quiet, honest moment at a time. Sometimes I still think about that text she sent me. I didn't know you could be this cold. And I smile. Not because it's true, but because she mistook boundaries for cruelty. And now I know better. Let them think you're cold. Let them call you heartless when you stop bleeding for people who cut you. Let them misunderstand your silence as weakness. Because eventually they'll hear it for what it is, strength. This isn't a revenge story. This is a remember who you were story. This is a choose yourself and don't look back story. This is a walk away quietly and rebuild everything story. And if you're in the middle of it right now, if your world just cracked open and you don't know who you are without the person who tried to burn it down, let me tell you something I wish someone had told me. You are not broken. You are becoming. And on the other side of this is peace.